I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, riding solo today. Gonna break down the failure that was Game 4 for the New York Knickerbockers against the Indiana Pacers. Devin Williams getting the rare save, first in 6 weeks. Gonna hit on the Yankees action at the Big A in Anaheim as well. Starting this up on the hardwood. What more can you say? Tyrese Haliburton setting an Indiana Pacers record for most playoff triple doubles in his young career. No one has ever achieved more than one in Pacer history. He now has multiple triple doubles, and he was undeniably the driving force in the game. He and Pascal Siakam both go over 30 as the Pacers take a commanding 3-1 lead over the Knicks. And, the events of game 1, where the Knicks blew a 121-112 lead late, they continue to rear the ugly head. One of the worst collapses in recent memory. And a series that should be 2-2, unfortunately, is 3-1. Karl Anthony Towns banged up his knee late. He will play, but, he's going to have to get treatment. And can't really say for sure how effective he's going to be. The Knicks fought hard. No question about it. They did not quit, but a very sloppy fourth quarter. And in my opinion, although the announcers kept saying how the Knicks were getting to the line too often late and slowing down the game, the other side of that is that you never really get into your offense. And, Mikal Bridges being the focal point of the offense late in the game is far from ideal. And, the ridiculous turnovers. The Knicks had almost 20 turnovers yesterday, and that proved to be fatal in that game. Knicks have to win 3 in a row in order to keep this going. But what I saw yesterday and why I don't think the Knicks are going to be able to pull off this miracle, the Knicks keep playing into Indiana's hands. They have one of the more proficient offenses in terms of their up and down run and gun style. And the Knicks are not built to play 48-minute games like that. The Knicks need to get more into the half court, dribble penetration, and kick to their shooters and make it a habit to get to the free throw line. And quite frankly, the ugly part of what happened yesterday is that the Knicks defensively, yet again, just could not stop anything Indy was doing. Not pleased with some of the calls down the stretch, but that's neither here nor there. So in order to win in the playoffs, you have to make enough stops, and the Knicks, quite frankly, just did not do that. Jalen Brunson, big game as I expected, as did Karl Anthony Towns, but it's just not enough. It doesn't overcompensate for the defensive miscues that the Knicks keep making. Going into the fourth quarter, both teams shooting the ball really well from the free throw stripe. The Knicks fell off a little bit at the line in the fourth quarter, particularly two key OG Anunoby misses. But I still think this goes six. If the Knicks can find a way to win game five, anything's possible in a game six, because you got to think that the Knicks are going to pull out every stop to try to extend their season and force a Monday night game seven at MSG. But definitely the frustration of game one, it's felt. I believe it took the Knicks an extra game just to emotionally get over that. I don't think the Knicks are checked out by any means. I don't think the Knicks think they can't win. It's just unfortunately that momentum that they gave Indy, and when you give up a game like that, you essentially have to win 5 games to win this series now. Because although the score says Indy won, game one, the Knicks had it won. And it's definitely going to be a point of contention and something on the minds of all the Knicks players as well as their coaching staff going into the summer, assuming that the Knicks do not pull off a miraculous 3-1 deficit into a 4-3 win. 95.6%, I believe, of 3-1 leaders have advanced in these scenarios. The Knicks were on the wrong side of one of these years ago. So we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it plays out. But yes, the Knicks were on the wrong side of one of these against the Miami Heat. That, of course, was the Charlie Ward getting body slammed by PJ Brown. Say that a bunch of times. That'll get you confused. And, the Knicks' key players were suspended at different junctures of the final 2 games. And Miami ultimately went on to win that series and did not give a good showing in the ECF against the eventual champion Chicago Bulls. That's another Knicks season that will live in infamy, because with Allen Houston as the starter, Starks coming off the bench, and key additions such as Larry Johnson, Buck Williams, a lot of people felt that that particular Knicks team matched up really well with the Bulls. One of those Eastern Conference finals that we unfortunately did not get to see. But I think it's safe to say the Knicks had more than enough chances to defeat the Bulls in that decade, and they were only successful the year that Michael Jordan chose to play baseball and walk away from the game he loved after the tragic murder of his father. Many people feel that that was an unofficial suspension for Jordan. The Knicks could still win this series. They have to literally go into it as a game-to-game approach, because the hardest game to win is the one that kills somebody, that kills a team. So the Knicks do have that in their favor. They're going to have the Garden crowd. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that the Knicks are going to lose 3 games at the Garden in the same playoff series. It is certainly possible that that could be the case. But they've proven already that they could win in Indy. So if you get this down to 3-2, anything is possible. But key points that the Knicks have to do better. You have to get out better in transition defense. Indy had too many quality looks. During the first 2.5 quarters, I felt that both teams were doing whatever they wanted on offense. But as the game continued, Indy continued to shoot the ball at a high rate, get the best shots available, whereas the Knicks were laboring a lot more on offense. And I already alluded to the fact that living at the free throw line has its good and its bad. And the bad is that you're not really getting set into your offense. I really hope that Karl Anthony Towns is able to be mobile enough to run around the court, because while I think he's going to play no matter what, it doesn't mean that he's going to be effective. Uh, I still like the idea of Josh Hart coming off the bench. I still think it gives the Knicks second team their best shot. I liked what Shamet brought off the bench, uh, actually stealing some key minutes from Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride, with the exception of one three-pointer, was essentially a non-factor. Undeniably his worst game of these playoffs. But I gotta say, man, the Obi Toppin dagger from downtown, definitely painful. as he was kind of traded rather unceremoniously, as he was not a Tom Thibodeau guy, so to speak. We've seen 4 games. 3 of these games, Rick Carlisle has outcoached Tom Thibodeau. No question about it. It's just the truth. I still think these Knicks are a really good team. I still think these Knicks could extend it to 6. Game 6 is going to be where it's at, assuming we could win in the Garden. And I got to think that the Knicks are going to pull out all the stops. But this is going to be really, really hard, down 3-2, assuming we could win Game 5, to get out of Indy with the dub. Once again, I keep alluding to it. The Game 1 disaster, just unbelievably tough for any team to overcome. Tonight, Minnesota Timberwolves going to be playing for their lives against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Really tough loss. Only a 2-point defeat in Game 4 at the Target Center. And now they're going to have to dig deep. The Minnesota Timberwolves are, to extend this series. I expect the Timberwolves to keep it relatively close going into the fourth quarter, but I believe that OKC will win. I don't think they're going to cover that 8.5-point spread, but I do believe OKC wins. I'm going to go a little high on this one. I'm going to go OKC 127, Minnesota 122, which would not cover that 8.5-point spread. I expect a big game out of Dante DiVincenzo, but I'm forecasting a quiet one for Julius Randle, and I think that's going to pay heavy dividends on why the Minnesota Timberwolves will be going home for the summer. And sadly, it looks like they might be joining the team they made the blockbuster trade with, my New York Knicks. That was the trade of the offseason. Karl Anthony Towns for Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. But if the next show that I cover the Knicks on is a eulogy, one thing that I would like to say is this was a successful season, no matter how you slice it. And with the Jason Tatum injury in Boston and with him likely to miss all of next year, I still think that this is the same thing next year, possibly, where the Knicks and the Pacers might be going at it yet again. Of course, you got to account for the Cleveland Cavaliers, whose season ended abruptly, but they were the best team in the Eastern Conference all year long. But with Boston's terrible injury to Tatum, I would have to think that next year is the year that the Knicks potentially win that division and will be perched up to either the 1 or the 2 seed. But definitely an unfortunate situation. I do believe Tom Thibodeau has done enough to keep his job. And if there's anything positive going into next season, assuming, once again, that we don't get out of this round, I think the Knicks are going to be a little more noticeably extending their bench moving forward into next season. Tyler Kolek is a guy that I was really hyped about during the summer league. I love what Shamet has brought. Wright's been a very disruptive defender, and I think it's imperative that the Knicks go deeper because it all wears and weighs on the team. They were a 51-win team this year, which was good enough for third in the East. But they were beat up during the course of the year. Perhaps if you go deeper into your bench and do things like more of the league does, maybe you get closer to that 60-win plateau. Maybe you get that number 1 seed. Now, granted, the Knicks have not been good enough at home to even be a higher seeded team. But definitely going to be interesting. Game 5 tomorrow at MSG. Do or die for the Knicks. And I don't think it's over just yet. Going to shift my attention over to the diamond. Major League Baseball, New York Yankees getting a win, another series win. They go for the sweep today against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And a rare Devin Williams sighting in the 9th. 6 weeks ago, he lost his job after an implosion against the Toronto Blue Jays to Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver has only given up 2 runs this entire season. But because he's pitched 5 of the previous 7 games, Aaron Boone gave him the night off. Yankees, behind the strength of Carlos Rodon's masterful 10 strikeout, 7 inning performance, had a 3-0 lead going into the ninth. Devin Williams unfortunately made it interesting. One of his airbenders definitely caught too much of the plate. It was quickly 3-1 a couple of pitches into the ninth. He found himself in trouble, first and third with only 1 out. Yankees recorded a force out. Another run had scored 3-2. And fortunately, very fortunately, the final at bat of the game was a silly pop up, which was not judged well, and the Yankees were fortunate to escape. Uh, Williams has shaped up for the most part prior to getting back into that ninth inning frame. I'm still questioning if the ninth inning can ever be for him again, at least not in the foreseeable future or possibly ever in a Yankee uniform, with the exception of Spelling Weaver for the occasional save opportunity. But Aaron Boone is playing it down. You know, he talked about bending and not breaking. All I could really say is that unfortunately, Devin Williams gives me a little too much of the Clay Holmes vibes of last year, and I'm very pleased that manager Aaron Boone pulled him when he did. Last year, he was stubborn to a fault, taking way too long to replace Holmes out of that ninth inning. And it cost the Yankees a lot of games last year. The Yankees still ultimately won the pennant, lost in 5 hard-fought games to the Dodgers last year, but I do believe that Clay Holmes should have been pulled earlier than he did. Clay Holmes is actually having some success as a starter right now with the New York Mets. I wish him well. I'm just happy that he's not pitching for my team anymore. As the Yankees go, definitely, in my opinion, overachieving. No Garrett Cole, he's out for the year. Giancarlo Stanton is yet to take an at-bat. Oswaldo Cabrera is out for the year. Jazz Chisholm Jr., currently on the IL. And Luis Gil has yet to pitch this year, but he will be returning sometime in the next few weeks, one would think, possibly before the All-Star game, but definitely going to make his return at the midway point. And to think that the Yankees have the third best record in Major League Baseball. Oh, yeah, they lost this guy named Juan Soto, too. That's kind of important. But to think that the Yankees have the third best record in Major League Baseball despite these hardships, I think it speaks volumes on the moves that they did make. You know, of course, they brought in Williams to be the closer. That hasn't worked. He is one of the setup guys for Weaver. The emergence of Ben Rice this year has been huge. He's even taken reps at catcher because they have to figure out how to keep that bat in the lineup. Of course, Paul Goldschmidt, the ageless wonder, having a terrific season and definitely outplaying anything the Yankees expected out of him. Yankees address center field, bringing in Cody Bellinger, and the Martian, Jason Dominguez, still getting his feet wet at the major league level, but he had a historic month in a lot of offensive measurables. Aaron Judge definitely has an opportunity to tie or break his previous American League record of 62 home runs. He has an opportunity to score more runs and break a major league record held by the legendary Babe Ruth. So there's a lot to be excited about right now if you're a Yankee fan. And in the overall MLB standings, the only 2 teams that are ahead of them are the Detroit Tigers and the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies jumped the Mets in part due to the Yankees series win over them. The Mets did win yesterday, but struggled against a bad Chicago White Sox team. But the Mets are currently standing as a strong second place team in that East. They have played the Phillies well this year, so that bodes well for them. What I'm really looking forward to is the series after this, as the New York Yankees will be locking horns with the team that ended their season in the Fall Classic, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think that the Yankees could be catching them at the right time because the Dodgers have been nursing their fair share of injuries as well. And if I have to measure team for team, I personally think the Yankees are handling the injuries better than the Dodgers are, for the sheer fact that the Dodgers have a deeper roster even with the injuries. But that's going to be a star-studded affair. Going to give a lot of fans the World Series preview vibes. I mean, there could be a potential rematch. Definitely a potential rematch could be going down with the Dodgers and Yankees. And to think that they didn't play each other for so many decades. Last time that those guys ran into each other in the Fall Classic prior to last year was actually 1981. Yankees did defeat them twice in the 70s. And prior to that, you got to go back to the Brooklyn days where the Yankees had much dominance over them, with the exception of the iconic steal from the great Jackie Robinson. That photo etched in the memory of all baseball fans as the legendary Yogi Berra, the biggest winner in the history of baseball, argued pretty much until the day he died that Jackie was not safe. But I'm sure that in the next realm, those two icons are still having fun with that great baseball moment. Knicks, it's been a good season. Can you guys dig deep and win 3 in a row? I surely hope so. That remains to be revealed. If there's anything I can take solace in this series, is I can say the Knicks have not played their best ball in this series yet. Are they saving their best for last? One thing I know about the Knicks is they have never, ever done anything the easy way. But I got to give kudos to Tyrese Haliburton. He has played at a high level. His game has transcended well and transferred well into the pro game, into the big moments. And you got to tip your hat to this team. They've been the hottest team in the NBA over the course of the last 5, 6 weeks going into the playoffs. They knocked out the number one seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, a story that I don't think gets enough attention. We hear a lot about the Knicks beating Boston, who are the 2 seed and the defending champs. But Cleveland was the best team in the East all year long. And Indy made short work of them. Granted, Cleveland did have a key injury, but it's still ultra impressive. I've seen the Pacers have their own breakdowns, but their mistakes were not quite as big as the Knicks. If you ask anybody, I think most people will tell you that was the sloppiest fourth quarter of this series last night. But Indy still avoided a collapse because the Knicks, quite frankly, were just making more mistakes and just weren't hitting enough shots down the stretch. But you got to give credit to Siakam. You got to give credit to Neesmith. His defense on Brunson was elite. Siakam's been just terrific when he's needed to be. And Rick Carlisle has been coaching at a very high level. It's going to take a lot for the turnaround, but I still think this series is not over. I hope the Knicks can prove me right and fight a little harder, because I don't think too many people had this thing ending in 5. I know my co-host Idris Salam said Knicks in 6. That's obviously not possible now. I did say Knicks in 7 going in, so maybe I'll be right. But what's another year for a Knicks fan? I've been waiting my whole life for one of these. But I will say that this team, the way that it was built, does have a window for a championship over the course of the next 4 seasons. So a loss, whether it be tomorrow night, whether it be later in the week, is not a death nail for their bigger plans of winning that ever elusive third NBA title. They have not raised an NBA title banner since the 1973 season. Both Knicks victories in the 70s were over the iconic Laker teams that featured Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, 2 late great Laker legends. But until next time, I am Richie. Yankees, keep up the good work. Knicks, time to get to work. If you haven't already, please make it a point, like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Check out the Vicious Mix, the V Mix on live365.com, where the DJ of all DJs, Mr. Idris Salam, just mixes it well. Check out the Casual Convo Show from the hours of 8 to 10 on Wednesday nights. They will have a show tonight, I believe. And definitely make it a point to check out the Sports Corner as well as the Basement Show with our good friend, Mr. Johnny Nast, always showing love to my fellow podcasters, have a great day, everyone. Take care.